This video breaks down the top 10 NBA storylines entering next season. From LAVAR'S dream becoming a reality with LiAngelo joining his two brothers in the NBA, to the reigning champion LA Lakers adding a ridiculous amount of depth, to Harden's strip club antics, there's a ton of basketball narratives to keep up with. So stay tuned for a ranking of every 2021 storyline you have to know about and why each of them could make for an extremely captivating new season. If you're already subscribed, welcome back to D-Flow Hoops. If you're new here and a basketball fan interested in NBA rankings, predictions, and stories, welcome aboard. You came to the right place. Please subscribe and click the bell so you get notified every time I post new content, which is at least twice a week. Commenter shout out to Pearl, answering my question by predicting the Rockets will be a 2 or 3 seed in the West, going on to say Houston could get back to the West Finals. Thanks for every answer. The top 5 on the Speaks board at the end of 2020 get yearly giveaways, and the board resets in 2021. The question's on its way for next video shoutout. 10 compelling younger stars. In the 2021 season, there's the most young talent in the NBA since the LeBron, Carmelo, Wade era in the early 2000s. Luka Doncic, Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Zion Williamson, and Ja Morant could and should make the jump from all-star caliber to all-NBA players this year. There's also a ton of players who have a chance at taking that initial step into stardom. Michael Porter Jr., Colin Sexton, Christian Wood, Kobe White, Thomas Bryant, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Tyler Herro. I think I have a real shot to put up all-star type production in 2021 and become known as elite caliber players. But whether they're top superstars or just newly budding stars, the league's in outstanding hands with all of its young talent. The 9th best storyline entering next season is an insane Western Conference that we're about to see. Most notably, 2 teams near the bottom of the playoff picture out west had stellar off seasons, which makes things real interesting for the outlook of the conference. Firstly, the Phoenix Suns traded for Chris Paul to pair the legend CP3 next to Booker, Ayton, while also adding a reputable perimeter stopper in Jay Crowder. Secondly, the Portland Trail Blazers signed 2 above-average wing defenders in Robert Covington and Derrick Jones Jr. to bolster their depth around Dame, CJ, and a full season of a healthy Yusuf Nurkic. The Blazers and Suns' improvement could push Luka's Mavs out of the playoff picture given the Unicorns' constant injuries. Regardless of who gets the 8th or 9th seeds in the West, the play-in tournament next year is going to be insane. 8, fatigue, rust, and a pandemic. This was the shortest offseason in league history, and the Lakers and Heat will have only had 72 days off when the season starts on the 22nd. Meanwhile, any team that didn't qualify for the NBA bubble will have had 286 days off. So we know the fatigue factor for the teams that just suited up in the postseason could ultimately be a real thing when the longevity of the 2021 playoffs kick in. But what about the teams that have been off for nearly a year? Taking into account both that and the fact that positive tests could start popping up, the level of competition could be a lot different at times next year. I mean, the Raptors are playing in Tampa for God's sakes, but let's just hope there's no positive tests when the playoffs kick off. 7, the KYRIE drama. Recently, KYRIE said that Kevin Durant is the first player he's played alongside that he can trust to close out games. LeBron said that he was hurt by those comments from Uncle Drew. KYRIE's also made headlines recently for declining to meet with members of the media over Zoom during the team's media week. Irving instead released a 4-paragraph long statement that basically just uses the tough year as an excuse not to do part of his job. Last year it was his mood swings that I covered in a similar list to this. Before that, it was the flat earth drama, and now KYRIE's antics have returned, and with all of Brooklyn's egos, don't be surprised if KYRIE continues to generate headlines throughout the whole year. 6, contenders improving. 2 contenders specifically that have made conference finals appearances in the last 5 years in the Bucks and Rockets have significantly improved for the 2021 season. The Milwaukee Bucks were under more pressure than any team this offseason. Giannis Antetokounmpo's potential Supermax extension hovered over the franchise. The front office had to be active, and they did that this offseason, landing Drew Holiday in a trade without giving up Middleton or Lopez, while signing two very nice bench pieces in DJ Augustine and Bryn Forbes. Milwaukee also picked up a stretch big in Bobby Portis and a wing defender in Torrey Craig. For the first time in his career, though, the Greek Freak's surrounded by two all-star caliber players in Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. So even though they couldn't end up getting Bogdanovic, the Bucks are still my favorite to get out of the East this year. Then there's the team I spoke about in my last video in the Houston Rockets, and despite being bogged down by the attention that Harden's getting for both going to the strip club and requesting trades, the Rockets have added some great pieces by signing a rising big man in Christian Wood. They also picked up a former 20-10 guy in DeMarcus Cousins, and recently made a massive splash by trading Westbrook for John Wall. Wall's looked sensational in workouts for months now. More on the Rockets in my last video, but moving on. 5 new coaches. Shockingly, 30% of the teams in the NBA decided to bring in new coaches this offseason. Two-time MVP Steve Nash is now tasked with managing the egos of Irving and Durant, as he's the new Brooklyn Nets head coach, signing a reported 4-year contract. Also, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic, former NBA All-Star Amari Stoudemire is going to join Nash's coaching staff in Brooklyn. So that should be insane to see the former teammates on the floor now try to lead an NBA squad off the floor. Rounding out the new head coaches, former Bulls coach Tom Thibodeau takes over a Knicks team that hasn't made the playoffs in 7 consecutive seasons. Billy Donovan, who was 3rd in Coach of the Year voting, takes over as the new Chicago Bulls man in charge. Stan Van Gundy resumes his coaching career as he takes over for Alvin Gentry in New Orleans and will be tasked with developing Ingram and Williamson. Good luck, Pelicans fans. The OKC Thunder promote their assistant coach in Mark Dagnall to be the primary man in charge. The Houston Rockets replace Mike D'Antoni with the son of basketball legend Paul Silas, Steven Silas, who's been an assistant coach or a scout in the NBA since '99. The Clippers replaced Doc Rivers with Tyronn Lue. The Sixers replaced Brett Brown with Doc Rivers. And lastly, the Pacers signed former Raptors assistant Nate Bjorkgren to be their head coach. 4 healthy juggernauts. In total, there's 10 healthy superstars that'll be fully recovered from injury this season. We should have had the fully healthy Splash Bros, but we'll settle for a combination of a bona fide top 5 player in Steph Curry, surrounded by Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins in the Bay. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant will finally form the lethal duo we've been anticipating as KD's Achilles is fully recovered. Meanwhile, in Houston, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall are back from major setbacks as they're looking great in the Rockets training camp. Rounding out the returns, Blake Griffin's returning after surgery to his left knee. Karl Anthony Towns is back after a left wrist injury. Zach LaVine's at 100% after a left quad strain in February. LaMarcus Aldridge is healthy after a successful surgery to his right shoulder. And lastly, Clint Capella's finally healthy and in his new look Atlanta Hawk threads after recovering from a heel injury. 3. The Lakers' ridiculous depth. After bolstering their roster around AD and LeBron by picking up the 6th Man of the Year Montrezl Harrell and trading for the runner-up for that award in Dennis Schroeder, the reigning champs have the best storyline of any team. You can't forget the Lake Show also signed veteran three-point marksman Wesley Matthews in free agency, who brings extremely valued floor spacing for LA's star power, and they also brought in former All-NBA player and Defensive Player of the Year Marc Gasol, who's an upgrade over any player in the Lakers' center rotation from last year. Unlike Dwight Howard or JaVale McGee, Big Spain can shoot the 3-ball and can facilitate at a high level. Gasol had extremely nice chemistry with Kawhi Leonard, and he should be able to replicate that with LeBron James. Additionally, the LeBron James and Montrezl Harrell pick-and-roll combination should be an explosive pairing. The Trez and Brow front court should be unstoppable, and the ball handling of Dennis Schroeder significantly takes the ease off King James. Overall, the Lakers are a whole different animal than they were in 2019-20 after this offseason, but their competition's also improved, and given every one of their core pieces competed in the NBA bubble, they could face fatigue at some point, but that's about the only thing in this special Laker team's way, as their vamp depth around their all-time great duo makes them damn scary. 2. Harden, strip club, and trade rumors. To start the offseason, Harden made headlines for reportedly wanting to create a big three with the Brooklyn Nets, but most recently it's been the Sixers who've been reported as a top threat to land the beard. But the biggest bombshell was Harden missing Rockets practice and training camp to go to a strip club. The Houston Rockets might not be willing to part ways with James just yet, but it's hard not to question his commitment to the team after this incident. In fact, Harden's been a man of the town recently, having also been spotted at Lil Baby's birthday party where he gifted the rapper with $100,000 cash and a $200,000 Richard Mille watch. But James has now arrived at Rockets training camp, and new head coach Silas added that Harden's arrival to camp, albeit late, is a sign of commitment by the Rockets star, saying, quote-unquote, him being here shows a level of commitment to what we have going and what we have going forward, and that's that. 1. The Ball brothers. LAVAR'S dream has become reality, even though the big baller didn't think his son LiAngelo would make the league a few years ago. But how could this not rank as the best storyline entering next season? It's utterly astonishing that LiAngelo's joining his brother Lonzo and the recent number 3 overall pick LaMelo in the best basketball league in the world. Growing up, the 3 Ball brothers all had dreams of becoming high draft picks and NBA All-Stars. Lonzo and LaMelo both achieved part of that dream after getting drafted number 3 and number 2 overall respectively within the span of 3 years. But the middle brother LiAngelo has mostly gotten lost in the shuffle with the success his siblings have achieved in their basketball careers, and it's not as if LiAngelo's been a disappointment either. LiAngelo actually averaged more points per game in high school than both Lonzo and LaMelo. He scored 30.3 points per game for Chino Hills High School over his junior and senior seasons. He received a scholarship to play at UCLA with Lonzo, but he left the program before even playing 1 game. After leaving the UCLA program, LiAngelo wasn't selected in the 2018 NBA draft. He went on to play for the Los Angeles Ballers in the Junior Basketball Association before getting a chance in the NBA with the OKC Thunder's G League affiliate. Unfortunately, Ball didn't play a single game in the G League season because it was canceled due to the pandemic, but a few months later, LiAngelo finally saw his NBA dream come true, as on Wednesday, December 2nd, Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium reported the Detroit Pistons are signing LiAngelo to a 1-year, non-guaranteed contract, and it's no secret that Lavar Ball wants all 3 of his sons to play together in the NBA. After LiAngelo's signing, his pipe dream looks like a possibility. He said back in May, quote-unquote, I see my boys in the near future, man. They're going to be the face of the NBA. Everybody's trying to create the big 3. They've been the big 3 since they've been babies, and people are telling me, man, you know the odds of all 3 of your boys being on the same team? And I say, yeah, probably the same odds of me coming into the NBA with my own brand. Don't tell me nothing about no odds, unquote. If there's one thing the Ball family does well, it's dream big. Super teams are becoming more and more popular in the NBA, so who's to say we can't see a Ball family reunion in the league at some point? But whether it's my number 1 ranked storyline on this list or another one, which storyline are you most excited about? Best answer gets next video shout out. If you want to stay updated on both my channel as well as important NBA news, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DFlowHoops. Link in the description for both those platforms. That's at DFlowHoops. You're the best for sticking around. This was DFlow, and I'll see you next video.